Welcome to the Productivity Podcast, part 2 of our best bit of business advice from all the podcasts we've done over the last 2.5 years. Sit back and enjoy.
I would say probably how to eat an elephant is probably, one of the things that's always stuck with me. And as we know, or some may not, it is bit by bit. And a bit like this technology itself, you look at it and you think, wow, this is a big thing. But actually, if you break it down and work with somebody like us, we can really make it into, manageable chunks of what you want to achieve. Maybe it's picking from a store for doing, collections from a store that you've never done before. Maybe it's just to make sure your pricing's accurate. Or maybe it's that you really want to engage with your suppliers and run, promotions as and when. All those things are possible. We can kind of break that down. How to eat an elephant.
To face into the challenges, but to embrace the challenges. Every day comes with a new challenge. Don't get frustrated by facing into these. Just embrace them and fix them, and we can move on. There's always a solution.
Best bit of business advice I haven't been given. I think when it sort of comes down to sort of technology, I think it's a case of it's about the appropriate using appropriate technology, and also technology that has sort of low capex and high return. So it's actually how can retailers use tech that is multifunctional or can be built upon with software upgrades. And I think that's where some of the challenges we may have had with things like robotics or cameras is they become quite one-dimensional. As they start coming smarter and better and they can offer more solutions, they become more beneficial from a capex point of view. So ultimately, food and grocery is a sort of high volume, small margins gain. So you can't invest loads of money in tech. So the money you do invest needs to be beneficial and have a return on investment that's relatively short.
I think the best bit of business advice I've been given, and it kind of plays back to my days when I was looking after formats, is that everything that you do, you've got to put the customer at the heart of what you do. And I think you've got to remember that when you're running a store, whether you're operating in a retailer, without the customer, you're actually nothing. So I think it's important that you keep the customer at the heart of everything that you do.
I was on a podcast recently and had sort of reflected on this and thought it doesn't show me in a good light. But one of my team many years ago said to me that if I spent as much time doing my work as I did organising myself and did it in such a good way, then I'd be even better. As in, I'm really good at organising myself, but it's a really good way of procrastinating and not actually doing any of the work. And she was my subordinate, and that did pull me up quite short. And I have remembered that ever since. And she's still a good friend, and I do value the fact that she made that point to me. So yeah, I need to, or everyone needs to spend time doing things that are really important rather than planning to work out what those important things are.
Best bit of business advice you've been given. Do you know what? I'm going to give that to you actually, Simon, because it's not about. For me, the biggest thing for me was moving from a paid job to being a consultant and running my own business. And when we spoke about me and setting up my business, I remember you saying to me, "Look, you'll be fine. With all of the work that you've done and the operational projects you've delivered, there's a lot of value there." So I think for me, and it comes to everybody who's either looking to set up their own business or has taken on a new job. If you go and spend time in stores and you understand the operation and you talk to people and you're open to ideas, you can build a really solid plan. So 2 things there. One is, believe in what you can do, but the answers are in stores. So I think that's probably the one thing that I saw from a leader that came into Boots, who just kept saying the answers are in stores. And that's where I would say, if you spend your time in there, talk to the teams there, get the data from there, that is how you build your plan.
Perfect.
I think the best for me, and it's one thing that I've taken from, I guess, the start of my career, is listening to your people in shops. I haven't stopped listening. And I think that's probably from me being back in stores. So, when I was a colleague in store with ideas, suggestions, I've always been encouraged to listen to our colleagues in store because they are at the forefront. They are the ones who have got the complexity in process and understand it. They are the ones who are dealing day in, day out with our customers. So for me, it's around, I've always been encouraged to never lose sight and never stop listening to the teams in shops, because that will improve the way they feel, but it will also deliver better for the customer.
I think it's probably it's in the people space, and it's about that taking a chance on people, because I think that I've been lucky enough in my career to have had 2 or 3 people in my career that have had a real fundamental impact on me, but it's been primarily because they've believed in me and taken a chance on me. So I think that's probably the single best thing that I've learned along the way, is that when you see somebody with a bit of spark and a bit of drive, then take a chance, because the chances are it will pay you back.
Okay, thanks for putting us on the spot there. I think probably the wisest bit of advice I got, and I still don't like it, but it is absolutely spot on, is it's all about focusing on outcomes, not about activity. So, it's very easy to keep yourself incredibly busy, but you've actually got to be focusing on, are you getting the outcomes?
Yeah, I like that.
Some of the focus.
Well, just building on what Neil said, I think many times you can confuse activity with progress. So the natural instinct, particularly in retail, I find, is people want to do stuff, and they want to do stuff quickly because that's the way they've been successful. But often you can find that all of that activity isn't delivering the outcome you want. And to go back to my original point about making things logical for people in their world, you can put all sorts of activity into trying to change stuff, but if it's not logical, it won't land. So put some time and some thought into what will make it logical, and you've got a better chance of getting it to that.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So actually, it was while I was at Tesco, and I've mentioned Tesco a lot, but it was really quite formative on me as an individual and on my career. And it was a piece of advice that came from a conversation at a leaders' dinner. I won't reveal much more than that because I need to protect the innocent. It came from a leaders' dinner, and in the conversation, the most senior person at the table said, so when did you last get into store? And I said, I don't really get into store very much these days. Very, very busy in the office, lots and lots going on, and big projects to deliver, and all sorts of innovation, and oh my goodness. And he said, well, would you like to get into store more often? I said, absolutely. If only I could find the space in my diary, then I would absolutely get into store more often. And he said, oh, right, okay. He said, who manages your diary then? And it kind of dawned on me. It's like, that will be me. And so my best bit of advice from business was prioritize the things that are really important, and to identify the things that are really important. You might just have to take a step back from everything that's troubling you in your day to day. The important stuff in retail goes on in stores and online. And if you are in the office and busy, got your head down, working on delivering your project, then yes, of course, that's important, but you're kind of missing the point of retail. So my best bit of advice is do the things that are important. And if you're in retail, get out to stores and get online, see what's going on.
So how long have we got? Transformation is a really broad topic, let's be honest. And the reason I like what I call my transformation trifecta, those 3 elements, the strong will to change, the achievable approach, and the right people to do it, is because actually each one of those has lots of different areas that you can evolve, you can make sure are working, whether it's making sure that your governance is working, or whether it's making sure that there is the right team culture that does, work on exciting initiatives that maybe might fail, dun, dun, dun. Or whether it's actually great program management. There's lots of different elements that do fold up into a wider transformation. I think for me, there are a couple of additional elements that I'd really encourage your listeners to think about. One is, how can you continue to stay curious? How can you continue to learn and continue to evolve? That was actually a question one of my old bosses quite early on in Tesco asked me, how can we make the team more curious? And it's always been something that stayed with me to really think about, actually, how can you inspire curiosity? It's a really interesting topic. So maybe we can get into that another time, perhaps. The second thing is, I always think it's really important to have a logical plan through to your goal. It's one of my core values to have this sort of logical structure in place on things that I work through, but also be able to add in some left field thinking as well that allows you to add that spark of excitement, that slightly different angle that can help make things really work. So those would be the additional couple of things that I would add in for your listeners to take up and help get better at doing transformation.
No, I think it's about living in the moment, and I think the pandemic has shown us that. I think understanding the context of the business in the moment that we currently live is really important. We can all have strategies and visions for the future, and I think that's absolutely fantastic. We can have plans, but we have to understand what that core model is for how and why our business is successful today. And I learned that at Tesco, and I learned about really understanding the economic model, the relationship model, what holds people to this organization, and why is it at the heart of it that we're successful and we make money. I think you have to stay true to that, and you have to understand that before you can start being really ambitious about the future.